Mr. President, again, to reiterate the presence of our the heads of the government of the Bangsamoro government are here. Of course, led by the Chief Minister. The ministers are here. And the rest of the Bangsamoro government and Bangsamoro Parliament are likewise here, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, good sponsor. Mr. President, for the record, I supported the first resetting of the BARMM election in 2021 due to a threat to the health of our people. The COVID-19 pandemic proved to be a formidable opponent, and there was an urgent need to focus resources on ensuring everyone's survival and well-being. And now, Mr. President, the BARMM is faced with an issue of a different character, no longer threatening physical health, but this time, perhaps, the peace and order situation in the BARMM. Apart from the fact that the peace process has not yet reached its end game, the recent Supreme Court decision that separated Sulu from the BARMM only serves to underscore a pressing need to reset the elections once more. After all, on our list of priorities, peace remains at the top, a priority that sits much higher than any need to follow a strict schedule to the letter. In order to clarify on the necessity of resetting the elections, would the good one from San Juan, of course, the presiding officer is the better one. Would the good one, but both of them are the best ones, Mr. President, the best ones. Would the good one from San Juan yield to a few clarificatory questions?
Yes, gladly, Mr. President. A matter as sensitive as the postponement of BARMM, because, Mr. President, we really have to understand fully the rationale why we are pushing for the postponement, once again, of the BARMM elections because of the sensitive situation in the area. And I think we're glad that the principal sponsor of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, our former Senate President Mig Zubiri, is here also. We all supported this because we want peace. No, at least we are making headways already in the past few years, ever since the passage of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Mr. President, we have tried a lot of solutions that failed to achieve lasting peace in Mindanao. I'm sure the good Senator De La Rosa, who is from Mindanao, knows about the situation. Sinubukan na po natin ang military solution, all-out war, in the past. But, decades of strife and the secessionist movement happened in Mindanao. Kaya nga po, yung development in Mindanao, we cannot reach the full potential. So, with the passage of Bangsamoro Organic Law, we saw hope and an opportunity. When we're hoping that we do not want to make a mistake, one misstep might ignite again. That's the worry of this representation. One misstep might ignite again conflict in Mindanao, which we do not want to happen. Because in the past, as I mentioned, Mr. President, the past few years, after the passage of Bangsamoro Organic Law, we have already experienced peace, especially in that area. So we're very glad to answer some queries from the gentleman from Mindanao, Davao del Sur, Senator De La Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can the good sponsors spread into the record the rationale on why there is a need to reset the BARMM's first regular election to August 11, 2025, what factors were considered in the determination of this date, considering that in the House version, the proposal is to move it to May 2026. Hindi ba parang maigsi ang 3 months? Ano ba ang mga gusto natin ma-achieve sa loob ng 3 buwan?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President, because there are always two sides, no? There are those who are in favor for the postponement, but there are also those who are against. Just to mention the rationale of those who are against, for them, the legitimacy and accountability of political leaders are forged through elections. So elections have to be held as scheduled. It will deprive BARMM residents of the right to choose their leaders. The regional elections have to be synchronized with the national and local elections, and political parties are ready for the elections. Now, that is according to those who are against the postponement of the election. And likewise, it will cost, postponing the elections would cost about 1 to 3 billion pesos, according to COMELEC. But those who are in favor, number one, it will give the Bangsamoro Transition Authority time to relocate. As you mentioned earlier, yung pong Sulu, no? Because of the Supreme Court decision was as excluded already from the BARMM. So it left 7 district seats that will be supposedly for allotted for Sulu na hindi po mapupunuan. So that might be that has to be reapportioned, Mr. President. Yung 7 district seats of Sulu has to be reapportioned. And we're hoping that it will also give the Supreme Court time to rule with finality on Sulu status with BARMM. Because, Mr. President, we know for a fact, those who supported the Bangsamoro Organic Law, Sulu has been part of the struggle, no? It was the center, in fact, no, of the struggle of the Bangsamoro people through the decades, and excluding them from BARMM, it's unimaginable actually for this representation. So I think the Senator Zubiri, the author of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, already filed a bill. Probably, Mr. President, if Senator Zubiri is
Yes,
seeking the floor to...
Mr. President, may I be given the recognition just for a
Yes,
few
with
minutes?
the permission of the
Yeah.
two gentlemen.
I'm willing to yield the floor to the main author of
Thank
the
you, Mr. President.
BOL,
Senator
Mr.
Zubiri.
President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much to my distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, due to several factors, initially, on the record, nagsalita na rin ako noon, yung in-extend po natin yung BARMM for another 3 years, the BTA. I had already given a statement that we will no longer extend. Actually, on the record yan, dito. But because of circumstances that are beyond our control, particularly the dislocation or the dismemberment of Sulu from BARMM, now they're no longer part of BARMM, which for me is a sad day in the history of what we call historical justice for our brothers and sisters in Sulu. Because many, and alam po ni Senate President Coco Pimentel yan, na Sulu was the mitsa. Diyan po nagmitsa, diyan nag-umpisa yung struggle ng ating mga kapatid na Muslim na makilala bilang pamuno dito sa lugar nila. Their struggles for an independent Mindanao, their struggles for an independent Bangsamoro region. And because of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, we were able to convince the leaders that this is the political solution to prevent war from happening, from continuing after 30, 40 years of struggles, 120,000 people dead in our region, Your Honor, Senator Bato's region and my region in Mindanao. And now, because of this law and the setup of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, we are seeing the fruits of peace. There's so much progress and so much hope from our people. So in this decision of the Supreme Court, parang nabulaga ulit tayo, Mr. President. nabulaga ulit tayo dahil alam naman po natin, ayaw po natin magkaroon muli ng extremism sa ating mga kapatid na tausug dun sa Sulu. Dahil ang haka-haka po kasalanan naman po ng national government, kasalanan naman po ng Manila dahil kinausap nila yung Supreme Court para matanggal yung Sulu. Parang ganun ang mga haka-haka. Maraming fake news Maraming fake news na ginagamit po ng mga extremists para magsabi na, kita mo, ginugulo na naman tayo ng Manila. Parang ganun. Kaya ako po, bahala na po sino magalit sa akin. Alam ko, I'm always getting the political brunt of this because there's always people who are against and for it. I am looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking as a statesman, what is the bigger picture for the betterment of Mindanao? Ang aking sagot dyan po, Mr. President, is to file a bill to allow Sulu to go through a plebiscite once more. Kung ano ba talaga, after 5 years of BARMM assistance, no? Almost hundreds of millions of pesos, almost billions of pesos spent on Sulu for the development of their water systems, their farm-to-market roads, the different educational, the new classrooms. Siguro naman, na yun siguro marami na pong, baka gusto na po nila na bumalik sa BARMM. Dahil yung last election, naalala ko po, 130,000 was in favor, and 160,000 was against. So hindi po ganun kalaki ang diferensya ng boto, no? Your Honor, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be mistaken. But my point is, let's give them one more chance to make that decision. And we cannot do that if we have an election now, Mr. President, because if we have an election now, first of all, Sulu will be disenfranchised because yung 80 seats of the Bangsamoro Parliament will only be electing 73 seats. Mawawala po 7 seats representing Sulu. So that alone is a violation of the BOL because the BOL says that there is an 80-seat member of the Parliament of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. So because of these circumstances, Mr. President, these factors that are prevailing, there is a bit of discontent and there's now also confusion. So ako na yun, with due respect to all those that listen to my speech, I am taking a step backwards and allowing myself to agree to a postponement. Pero definitely, tama po sinabi nyo, 3 months is useless. 3 months is useless. Kaya I appealed to the sponsor earlier. Dapat yan at least 6 months. Kasi pag naipasa po natin yung, napakasimple lang po yung plebisito sa Sulu na final ko po ay 1-pager lang. 1 page lang yun. To allow the Sulu to proceed with the plebiscite to re-enter into the BARMM. No? So, kung maipasa po natin yan, Your Honor, we can have a plebiscite within 2 months and then right before the election of the Bangsamoro Parliament, kung yes sila, nasama natin yung may 7 seats pong Sulu sa Bangsamoro Parliament. Pero kung mag-no sila, then wala talaga tayong magagawa. Kung mag-no sila muli. But that is the reason why I'm appealing to this August chamber, Mr. President. Every decision that we make here, parang BOL yan. May katumbas na consequence or benefit. We have to weigh the benefits and we have to weigh the consequences. And one thing that we have to think about is the possibility of outbreaks and skirmishes and outbreaks of violence. And yan ang ayaw na ayaw po natin. Kaya ginagawa po natin lahat politically na kaya natin bilang isang institusyon para maging peaceful itong lugar na ito. So I hope that helps with the explanation, Your Honor. We have to discuss that issue of the Sulu. And we have to, and if they do not agree and there is no one who will sponsor in the House, and I'm hoping that somebody can sponsor this in the House, particularly from their province, from the region, para matuloy na rin yung discussion doon. Pero kung wala talagang mangyayari, then they will have to go back and amend their electoral code. So that will take time because they will have to go back and amend their electoral code. Right now, their electoral code includes Sulu. So that's why, because of this confusion, we would request this August chamber for an extension, Your Honors. Thank you. I hope that helps the response. I'm here to continuously add to the knowledge of our good sponsor already on the issue. Thank you. Maraming
Yes.
salamat po, sir.
Thank you. I would like to thank the our colleague and the author of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the principal author and sponsor. And to add to that, no, as mentioned earlier, there are legal issues that need to be addressed. It was already mentioned, the exclusion of Sulu from BARMM brought legal issues, which includes, as mentioned by Senator Zubiri, the reallocation of seats to other BARMM provinces. But, and second, the committee considered giving the Commission on Elections significant time to prepare and the current Bangsamoro Transition Authority to wind up their transactions. No? Kasi po, bago po sila, they're asking for 1 or 2 years nga po, sanang extension or postponement so that they can wind up their transactions. And lastly, meron pa hong ano, no? There are also security concerns in the region while ensuring the complete, no? We are also looking at and monitoring the complete commissioning of the MILF combatants, which is still continuing up to this day, Your Honor, Mr. President. So, likewise, there are 8 orphan municipalities, no? We sought to create a new province so that these 8 orphan municipalities, ito po yung proposal ni Senator Rominod Padilla, yung creation of the Cotabato province, because these 8 orphan municipalities can vote for the members of parliament, but they cannot vote for the local officials. So, wala po silang governors and mayors. So, na-orphan po sila. So, again, Mr. President, there are legal issues that need to be resolved. Yung creation of the province, yung pong sa Sulu issue, as mentioned by Senator Zubiri, that we are hoping that can be resolved by postponing the elections. Kasi po, talagang malapit na po eh. Hindi, and this, all of these issues will remain hanging, so to speak, if we push through with the elections, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, good sponsor, Mr. President. And also, to support the statement made a while ago by Senator Subiri, I was one with him during the last Congress when he said, when he was our then Senate President, when he said that, okay, pagbigyan natin itong postponement, pero last na ito ha, yun din ang stand ko, I was with him. But ngayon, dahil nga sa prevailing circumstances, may mga bagong developments, and one of which is the Sulu issue, ako rin ay nag-backtrack rin ako sa aking position because pareho kami ni Senator Migsubiri, pareho kami taga Mindanao. We know how volatile the situation is. Kaya talagang we have to maximize lahat ng pwedeng gawin natin para ayos natin ito. So, Mr. President, that brings me to my next question. Kaya ba ng Supreme Court? Anyway, hindi natin, wala tayong, it is a co-equal branch of government. We have no control over them. Pero in your estimation, as the good sponsor of this particular bill, kaya ba ng Supreme Court na ma-resolve yung issue within 3 months? Kung mag-stick tayo dito sa 3 months as proposed in the bill, kaya ba nila yung ma-desisyonan within 3 months?
Your Honor, Mr. President, the decision of the Supreme Court is already final.
No, I'm referring to the motion for consideration that was filed before the Supreme Court.
It was already denied, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
So we're hoping that the bill that was filed by Senator Zubiri, our good colleague from Mindanao, there will be a counterpart measure that will be filed in the House. Hopefully, and our counterparts from Mindanao will also file a similar measure because I'm sure both of you from Mindanao know how volatile, how precarious the situation, how sensitive it is. Ayaw na ho natin na misstep eh. Now that we have already experienced peace in Mindanao, we would want to focus on important things that would improve the lives, the quality of lives of our people in Mindanao. Decades of strife, conflict, really affected the economy of Mindanao. But, what really is the cause of all of this struggle? No, yung secessionist movement in Central and Western Mindanao, the rebellion in the Eastern Mindanao, it's all about hunger, poverty, no? And the only way we can address poverty and hunger is to improve the quality of lives by having opportunities. Now that, and that opportunity has been very hard to reach for Mindanao because of the conflict through the decades. Wala hong mag-i-invest na negosyante sa Mindanao. Nobody in his right mind will invest in an area where there is a problem of peace and order. Especially may secessionist, may rebellion, kakaiba po yun. Now that we are already experiencing relative peace in Mindanao, Mindanao has been, has been referred to as the land of promise. Alam niyo po, nung panahon ng aking ama ni President era, mahal na mahal po niya Mindanao. Sabi ko, bakit kaya? Nung napunta po ako doon, that's when I saw how the potential of Mindanao, talagang the richest soil, the vast natural resources, no? Walang hindi binabagyo. Doon nga daw, magtapon ka lang ng buto, kinabukasan, tutubo na no? Ganun So, he had plans of making Mindanao as the food basket of Asia, but that would not be realized during that time because of the conflict. Now that we already have experienced, again, relatively a peaceful Mindanao, now is the time for us to concentrate on putting the different instruments, different factors that are needed for development. No? Kaya nga po, Mr. President, Your Honor, ako po ang advocacy ako talaga, infra development. I've been pushing for that. Even during the Duterte administration, I pushed for the Mindanao railway system. No? But it was put on hold because I feel that by putting the necessary infrastructure, we will be able to spread out the development. Hindi naman po pwedeng Davao lamang at Cagayan de Oro ang centers of development in Mindanao. No? Yung pong mga probinsya na nasasakupan ng BARMM ngayon, sa western side, central side, tapos yung pong nasa Caraga region, eastern side, diyan po yung mga may hirap na probinsya, diyan po nagkakarebelyon kasi mahirap ang mga probinsyang yan. Now, by pushing the infrastructure development, we have good highways now in Mindanao, 4 lanes, 6 lanes, 8 lanes. Hopefully, maitulak talaga natin yung Mindanao railway system to make movement of people faster, movement of goods faster, spread out the development. Again, kung Davao, pag meron kang railway at highways, ma-spread out mo, we create new growth areas around. No? We create new growth areas in BARMM, we create new growth areas in Eastern Mindanao. Pag meron kang railway na highway, magkakaroon tayong industrial estate, commercial complex, food terminals, so warehousing, lahat po. That will create new growth development areas. We spread out the development. Yan po ang problema ng Mindanao sa tingin ko, and as well as other provinces in the country. Because of our poor infrastructure, ang centers of development, Metro Manila, Cebu, Davao, and Cagayan de Oro. In Mindanao, lagay natin railway, highway, sports. We will create new growth nodes, growth development areas, produce jobs and opportunities pag nagkaroon na ng mga pabrika, commercial centers, food terminals for our agriculture. So, I think in the long term, yan po ang aking nakikita. But we need to put, first, we have to lay down the framework, we have to make sure that there is peace. Yun po ang pinakaunang requirement for investments to come in. No? Yun pa, infrastructure lang, tsaka energy. No? And the peace in Mindanao. I think that those are the main factors that we need to push for us to be able to realize the full potential of Mindanao.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Nabanggit mo lang rin yung infrastructure, no? Gusto ko lang ipagmayabang sa'yo na noon, kaming taga Davao, pag pupunta kami ng Marawi, we have to pass by Bukidnon, bababa kami ng Cagayan de Oro, punta kami ng Iligan, din akyat ng Marawi. Pero ngayon, from Davao, Bukidnon, diretso na Marawi. Ang ganda na lang. At saka yung lugar na yan noon, na hindi yan mapasok-pasok, mahirap pasukin ng civilian yan, ngayon po napakaganda na. Ako mismo, dumadaan ako doon, nagmumotor. Kaya ang ganda na, very shorten ang ruta dahil sa infrastructure. So, may I continue with my next question, Mr. President? Considering that isa sa ating concern, kung talagang hindi na maisama ang Sulu sa BARMM, kailangan po bang amendahan ang Bangsamoro Electoral Code, Bangsamoro Administrative Code, at Bangsamoro Local Government Code?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President, both codes have to be amended, no? So that the 7 seats have to be reallocated or reapportioned, no? To the remaining, to the existing districts, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. At bilang mambabatas, alam po natin kung ano ang proseso na dinaraanan ng paggawa ng batas. Sa tingin po ba ninyo ay sapat na ang 3 buwan para maipasa ang amendments sa Bangsamoro Electoral Code, Bangsamoro Administrative Code at Bangsamoro Local Government Code?
Your Honor, Mr. President, that was what was arrived by the committee or recommended by the committee. In the proper time, Your Honor, Mr. President, we will reconsider. No, if the body of or any of our colleagues would make the amendments, then we will reconsider. And because admittedly, 3 months is really too short. No? But it's a sort of a compromise. Kasi po 1 year ho talaga yung recommended, no, or passed by the House and also recommended by the peace process. 1 year po talaga. So doon naman sa mga against, they want the elections to be held as soon as possible. So it was sort of a compromise. So that's why the committee arrived at 3 months. And there's still a lot of if you would look at the indicative timeline of in the screen, no, there are a lot, medyo marami-rami po, no, the timeline of passing the amendments. So medyo mahaba-haba yung kanilang hinihiling na extension, no, but according to the BTA, the Office of the President for Presidential Advisor for Peace Process and others, they are willing for ang akin lang pong recommendation 1 year, no, will give them enough time already for them to be able to do all of these things that need to be done to address all of these legal issues, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anyway, my interpellation is all about extending the extension beyond 3 months. And I'm happy that the good sponsor is willing to accept my amendment in the proper time. Kung pwede natin gawin, sinabi mo na kayo na 1 year. Doon po papunta yung aking mga amendment, Mr. President. So, to continue,
probably, Mr. President, to add, probably I was able to talk, I had the chance to talk to the members of Parliament earlier, the leaders of the Bangsamoro government. As I mentioned earlier, Chief Minister Ahod Ibrahim is here, Minister Mohagar Iqbal, and a lot of people that we worked with, no, during the passage Bangsamoro or Organic Law. Andito po si Nabiltan, no, kasama po natin to. Siyempre si Kuya natin Kuya Attorney Lorena, no, member of Parliament, Kuya po natin. Secretary Galvez is here. Comelec also. I had the chance to talk to Comelec. Ang sabi po nila, probably minimum of 6 months and ideally 1 year.
okay, that will be decided by this body once we are going to introduce our amendments during the proper time, Mr. President. But to move forward, Mr. President, Section 2 of the proposed bill provides that the BTA shall continue as the interim government in the BARMM, and the interim members of the BTA shall serve until their successor shall have been elected and qualified. Tama po ba na sa madaling salita, ang ating mga current interim members ng BTA ay magkakaroon ng holdover capacity kung maipasa natin ang panukalang batas na ito?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President, it will be advisable for them to be on a holdover capacity, because if the President would still appoint new members of Parliament, sayang po yung oras, learning curve and everything. Wala na ho silang magagawa in so short a time. So might as well have a holdover, that they should continue to perform their duties on a holdover capacity. That's the position of this representation, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that stand. I am with you, and I'm going to support you in that holdover capacity issue. I am with you, Mr. President.
Kasi sayang po, kung magpapa-point, yung mag-aaral pa, yung learning curve, no? Yung that would take about, mag-aaral muli 6 months to 1 year. By the time they already know about, they gain knowledge, tapos na po yung term nila. So, I would also believe that it will be best to have for the current members of Parliament and the BTA to perform the duties continually on the holdover capacity order.
Idagdag mo pa dyan, Your Honor, Mr. President, yung pag nagpalitan dyan, sigurado ko yung aalis, kukunin yung mga gamit niya sa opisina, yung papasok, maghanap ng gamit para ilagay sa opisina. So, matagal pa yan bago magkapag-operate yung opisina na yan kung baguhin natin. So, what is 1 year? Baka mamaya, ang 1 year na yan, mabawasan ng 5 months yan for physical preparations lang sa opisina. So, kung pwede pa nga, more than 1 year. Sana, kung po pwede pa, more than 1 year, aking magiging proposal. But, pag-usapan natin yan, Mr. President, sa period of amendment. Ang ikinabahala po natin ay ang posibilidad na kung hindi magpatuloy ang current interim members sa BARMM, baka magkaroon ng disruption ng public service. Kung magkakaroon po ng mga bagong miyembro ang BTA, baka mas mahirapan po tayo ma-accomplish sa madaling panahon ang mga gusto nating ma-accomplish sa BARMM. Katulad ng mga pagpasa ng batas na nabanggit natin kanina. Posible rin po ba na magkaroon ng problema sa pagpapasweldo sa mga employee ng BARMM, katulad ng mga teachers, kung magbabago po ang komposisyon ng BTA?
Yes, Your Honor. According to our resource persons, yes, it is possible that would pose a problem. Kasi po, magkakaroon pa ng that would not give them enough time for a transition, no? Turnover of a record. So, we all know for a fact that every time there's a new administration taking over, it takes time, Your Honor, Mr. President. So, it is possible na maapektuhan po talaga pati pasweldo at iba pong proyekto, the ongoing projects, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then that we don't want to happen. We don't want to happen. Under Section 3 of the proposed bill, those who filed their certificate of candidacy for the May 2025 elections shall be automatically considered candidates and nominees to be voted for at the new election date. May we know if this provision is necessary? Would this encroach upon the power of the COMELEC to promulgate rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections?
Your Honor, Mr. President, according to COMELEC earlier, we had a discussion. If it reaches about 6 months to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year, it is possible to open, no? Kumbaga back to zero, reopen the filing of certificates of candidacy. But if it's less than 6 months, kung 3 months po talaga, or talagang matutuloy na po or shorter, hindi na ho pwede. Whoever filed was able to meet the deadline, yun na po yun, yung magiging kandidato. So kung aabot po ng 6 months to 1 year, it is possible and advisable to reopen the filing of the certificates of candidacy, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will include that in the period of amendment. Mr. President, in closing, I would like to thank our good sponsor for answering our questions today. Indeed, the question that lies before us, whether to reset the BARMM elections, is tied to the question of priority. It is the position of this representation then, Mr. President, that we prioritize peace and that we treat it as an enabling condition for a prerequisite to a full-blown electoral process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I would like to thank Senator De La Rosa. Of course, you know too well the situation in Mindanao. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator De La Rosa. The chair would like to remind the people in the gallery to please refrain from clapping. Thank you. Senator Robin Padilla is hereby recognized to interpolate.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bismillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi. Assalamualaikum. Inaasahan ko po ang aking kaibigan, Senator JB Ejercito, kung papayag po makapagtanong po tayo.
Siyempre naman, no? Siyempre sa ating kapatid na the only Muslim representative here in this chamber, of course, definitely, your question, yung mga tanong mo ay talagang ating pong inaantabayanan.
Maraming salamat po. Ang katotohanan po, Ginoong Pangulo, marami po sa aking katanungan ay nasagot po ng aming tinatawag na Godfather, yung amin pong sandigan, yung amin pong tinitingala, Senator Mig Subiri, sa kanya pong manifestasyon kanina. Nasagot na po ang maraming katanungan. Ngunit meron lang po akong gustong liwanagin pa. Una po sa lahat, gusto ko pong ipaalam sa ating mga mahal na kababayan na ang akin pong relasyon sa Bangsamoro ay espiritual. Never po itong naging political. Naging political lang po ito sa usapin na maisusulong ko po yung mga batas na may kinalaman po sa aming religion. At ito pong pinag-uusapan, ito po ay isang political issue, kaya ang akin pong concern uli ay yung spiritual na aspeto ng aking mga kapatid sa Bangsamoro. Number one, unang-una po, kung wala pong katahimikan, walang kapayapaan, imposible pong magkaroon ng practice ng kanilang spiritual. Kaya, ito pong mga katanungan ko ay, una, meron po akong panukala na nabanggit po kanina ng ating kaibigan na sponsor patungkol po doon sa Cotabato. Meron po tayong mga kababayan na hanggang ngayon, mahigit po sa 60 na mga barangay ang hindi pa po nakakaboto. Hindi po ba dapat na ginoong aming sponsor at anak ng masa na dapat po yata, mauna muna po yata natin gawin yon bago po tayo magkaroon ng eleksyon sapagkat sinasabi po ng konstitusyon na karapatan ng bawat Pilipino ang siya ay makapaghalal ng kanyang lokal at national na pinuno. Malungkot po yung dyan sa mahigit na 60 barangay na yan at pagkakaalam ko po'y 200,000 na tao ay hindi po nakakaboto. Hindi po ba dapat bago po natin pag-usapan ang halalan, pag-usapan muna po natin kung kailan po sila makakaboto?
Yun nga po, Mr. President, sa aking pong kasamahan, siguro kung inyo mapansin, marami na nagtatanong sa akin tungkol dito as chairman of the Committee on Local Government. Marami na nagpa-follow up tungkol po rito sa postponement, sa bill on the postponement of the BARMM elections. No? Hindi ko po sinasadyang i-delay to. Kaya nga po, dahil nabanggit ko kanina, may mga legal issues na kinakailangang marisolba. No? At isa na nga po yung creation ng bagong probinsya para po doon sa 8 munisipyo sa Special Geographic Area or SGA na hindi po makaboto ng kanila pong mga local officials. No? Pero sa BTA pwede sila. No? Pero sila po ay makakaboto bilang miyembro ng BARMM sa mga miyembro ng parliament. Yun nga lang po, wala ho silang governor at wala ho silang congressman. So, meron po silang mayor, no? Meron silang mayor pero wala ho silang district representative at wala silang governor. So, yun nga pong inuna po natin, kaya nga po inuna natin, no, nagkaroon tayo ng hearing about the creation of the Cotabato province na yun yung pong panukala. So, kaya nga po, isa sa mga inaasahan po natin na maresolba o magkaroon ng solusyon ay itong na bago magkaroon ng eleksyon ay sana po ay magkaroon na may pasa po natin itong pagtatag ng bagong probinsya para naman po hindi po sila ma-disenfranchise at sila po ay makaboto ng kanila pong mga lokal opisyal.
Opo, napakahalaga po niyan, aming Ginoong Pangulo, sapagkat alam niyo po, kapag ito po'y inihambing natin sa sitwasyon po ng Sulu ngayon, parang ganun po yun. Sila po ay parang, kumbaga, left hanging. Opo, parang napakahirap po yun na nakabitin ka. Kaya ako po ay sumasang-ayon din kanina nung nagsasalita po ang aming godfather na Senator Mig Subiri, ganun din po si General Bato, patungkol po sa kapag hindi po na-resolve din yung issue sa Sulu, ito po ay maaring pagmulan ng panibagong suliranin po sa atin. Sapagkat alam naman po natin, pag pinag-usapan po natin ang kasaysayan, talagang ang MNLF po, at ang MILF, nag-umpisa po sa MNLF, napunta sa MILF, ibig pong sabihin, napakahalaga po ng MNLF. Kapag pinag-usapan po natin ang BARMM. Sapagkat hindi po mabubuo ang isang istorya kung wala pong kasaysayan. Ang kasaysayan po, nandyan na po talaga ang MNLF, ang mga tausug. Kaya po hinihingi po natin na sana bago po tayo magkaroon ng eleksyon, maresolba muna po ito. Kasi ito po'y mabubuksan po ang maraming issue dito. Kapag ito po ay hindi natin niresolve kagad at tayo po ay nag-eleksyon, ang dami pong bagong issue ang mabubuksan dito. At ito po ay pamumugaran na naman ng iba't ibang kwento. Alam niyo po, ang masama niyan, hindi pa po tayo nakakapaglinang pa ng mga batas kung paano po natin makokontrol ng fake news. Katakot-takot po ang fake news. Minsan, yun pa po ang pinaniniwalaan, bago po natin to siguro maayos, baka nagkagulo na. Kaya sana po, bago po tayo tumalon, kung ilang buwan, kung ilang buwan ba talaga, 3 buwan, 6 na buwan, 1 taon, sana po lahat po muna na mga issue, maresolba muna po natin. Sapagkat ang lahat po ng ito, hindi po tayo pumapabor sa MILF o pumapabor po tayo sa mga political families. Ang tinitingnan po natin dito yung kabuuan ng Bangsamoro at yung pangako ng BARMM, yung BARMM law. Yung BARMM law ay napakahalaga po para sa mga Muslim sapagkat ito po ang salamin ng self-determination na sinasabi po, yung aming pamamahala sa aming mga sarili. Kapag hindi po namin ito na-achieve at parang pautay-utay, hindi po nangyayari yun. Kailangan po sana, magkaroon po talaga tayo ng oras talaga na ito po talaga matakel natin, mapag-usapan natin dahil ito po ay bago po maging anumang issue, ay national issue na po itong Sulu, ito pong Cotabato Province, national issue. At ito pa pong isa. Ito na lang po kasi marami na pong nasagot. Marami po ito. Ito po 7 pages pero marami na pong nasagot. Ito na lang pong huli. Kung matutuloy po Pero narinig ko naman po yung sinabi ng aming godfather, Senator Mig Subiri, na yung 3 buwan parang hindi rin workable. So siguro po ang mangyayari po nito, Ginoong Pangulo, katulad na lamang po ng sinabi ni General Bato, kung papayag po ang ating sponsor na kami po ay makapag-amendment na lang patungkol po sa mga ilang bagay para mapabilis po itong pagsusulong ng panukala na ito.
Bukas po tayo, no? Kung ito po ay talaga makakatulong, ang ating pong intention talaga ay kapayapaan. Kaya naman natin to kinukonsider at pinag-uusapan. Ang primary purpose talaga natin, no, ma-maintain natin yung kapayapaan na ngayon ay tinatamasa at nararamdaman na ngayon sa Mindanao. Mr. President, Senator Zubiri is seeking the floor.
Mr. President, tama yung sinabi po ni Senator Padilla, yung kanyang Cotabato province, mahalaga din po yan. Actually, dapat isabay yan, yung plebiscite, yung bill ng plebiscite ng Sulu at yung kanyang creation ng panibagong province doon sa North Cotabato, yung carved out 60 barangays, 63 barangays para hindi po sila ma-disenfranchise. And that takes time. Because dito lang sa Senado, for example, sa 6 months nga lang, binilang ko, alanganin tayo. You are Deputy Majority Floor Leader. I was once a Majority Floor Leader. Pag ang bilang po natin ay after May elections, yung kanilang 6 months, that is June, July, May. June, July, August, September, October, November. Sa November pa lang, papasok po tayo last week of July, which is the State of the Nation Address of the President. So you're technically, August na po tayo magtatrabaho dito kasi wala, yung first week, ano lang po yan. May mga learning curve pa yung mga panibago natin, mga bagong kasamahan. So you're looking at August, September, tapos October, break. So dalawang buwan lang. And then magpe-plebisito pa. Let's say, naipasa natin dito sa 2 buwan yung sa Sulu plebiscite at yung Cotabato province. Magkakaroon pa ng plebisito yan, boss. So, October, wala tayong pasok. November, eleksyon na para sa kanila muli. So, napakabitin. Kaya tama po, Ginoong Senator Padilla na sinasabi, we have to make, and also Senator Bato, parang alanganin din yung 6 months eh. If we're looking at the proper perspective of legislation, napakahirap dahil may plebisitong component pa to. But for peace, we're willing to give it a chance, di ba, Mr. President, my distinguished sponsor. So let's keep an open mind. Maybe even 6 months might not be enough. Kaya yun lang po. I wanted to put that on record. As a legislator, nandito yung ating majority leader, si Senator Tol, the 2 months when we get back, August and September is not enough kasi magkaka-plebisito pa yan eh. Which is under the law, under our bill, it's 120 days after the enactment of the act. We can make it 30 days after the enactment of this act, but still, it will still take time. So I hope that our colleagues and our sponsor will be open to the idea that we'll be in sync with the Cotabato province of North Cotabato of Senator Padilla and the additional plebiscite for Sulu. Yun lamang po, Mr. President. Thank you po.
Thank you, Senator Zubiri. Senator Padilla?
Opo, wala na pong gaganda pa sa paliwanag po ng aming godfather, Senator Mig Subiri, sapagkat siya po ang mas nakakaalam kung paano po nag-umpisa ang BARMM law. Kaya po ako po ay nakikiusap muli sa ating sponsor. Sana po ay pagmuni-munihan, linangin ng maayos, at iniimbita ko rin po. Alam ko naman pong ang ating pong sponsor ay madalas na sa Mindanao, pero sa usapin po nito, mas maganda din po siguro kung makapasyal kaming dalawa para makita din po namin ang sitwasyon doon at maramdaman mo namin talaga mismo sa mga tao na talaga pong napakarami pang naipangako ng national government ang hindi pa po naisasagawa. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Maraming salamat, Senator Padilla.